Hey Rebels, welcome back to the channel. So it's time for another weekly update. I'm hearing a lot of chatter around the crypto space that everybody's basically giving up on altcoins, and I wanted to point out a few things why that actually might be more bullish than bearish. So either way, we're going to jump into the weekly analysis quick. I am recording this before the weekly close, so this will depend on how the weekly candle close. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But just zooming out here, and I'll delete some of these 50% tools. As you can see, where Bitcoin is consolidating in strength. We're consolidating above the previous cycle highs, and we are consolidating in strength as far as the entire bull market goes. And then if we want to zoom in a little bit closer, we can see that we're getting support. We have got support on this support line here, or this trend line right here. The other thing I want to mention, I've drawn this before, is if I were to just draw this across here like so fashion, we basically had this giant cup and handle forming, came back down for a retest. So on a macro level, this all seems pretty normal and healthy, right? Despite the emotions that are in the market currently. And if I use my 50% tool for the most current range here, again, consolidating in strong territory above this trend line. Yes, we're getting some resistance on this trend line, which goes way back to this 2017 top to the 2021 top. Definitely getting some resistance there as expected. We've talked about that plenty on the channel, especially this run up, expecting to see resistance here. There's a lot of resistance that has played out. We were expecting a correction that has played out. And let's zoom in even further, and we can use this tool here to see where we're sitting in the most recent range. Yeah, we're definitely looking as if Bitcoin wants to close in strong territory. Now, I like to see multiple closes above this level. And then, of course, we also have this trend line to break on the weekly time frame. If we want to zoom in and get a little bit more granular on the daily time frame, you could perhaps draw a trend line like so fashion down like there. And we've broken this trend line here, seemingly getting support here so far. This is looking like a pretty convincing move off of the lows, and we are also getting higher lows forming above this 50% tool, which I've talked about plenty on the channel. And it looks like we have also breached this here in price, which puts us into an uptrend. So despite all of the emotions and everybody getting very bearish here and trying to call the top. That's the thing. Everybody tries to call the top, every single top. And in a bull market, it's just a really dangerous thing to do because as you can see, over time, prices tend to go up. Everybody was calling for a top here, consolidated for 8 months, went up. Everybody was calling for the top here. We've consolidated. We have a new top, fresh top, fresh top, and everybody's trying to short the top every single time. And they get wrecked and they get wrecked and they get wrecked. And then eventually, everyone, even the bears, will flip bullish, right? So the reason I titled this "I Quitting" is because that's what I'm hearing a lot. Because here's the thing: being in altcoins has been a total drag, and we've all just been dicked around, like just totally gotten dicked around. We've been in a bear market in alts, and there's been a few opportunities that I've talked about to make some money, and but it's been effectively we've been fighting it effectively this whole way. If you're not aggressively taking profits, there's plenty of entries and there's plenty of tradable ranges, but if you're not aggressively taking profits, you're going to give them back, which is why, and most people, because of the emotions, it's not until we breach those highs that people get confident again, and by that time it's usually too late. So if I'm just looking at Bitcoin, you're not comfortable buying Bitcoin anywhere in here until we're up here. And so, yeah, maybe about around here you're convinced, and now I want to get to the market. Now I feel like I'm convinced. But by that time, there's limited upside, and then you just hold and hold and hold. Now it's going against you. Now you panic and you're like, oh shit, I'm losing money. And then you sell right here and it rips against you, right? So emotions in the market are so essential to get a grips on, right? So I'm not gonna go and pretend like this has been an easy ride. It's been a bitch. Honestly, it sucked. It's failed every single altcoin rally. This is others dominance versus Bitcoin dominance. Every rally has failed miserably, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's typically at the end when everybody capitulates that there's no more sellers. Everybody's convinced that it's over this time. There will be no alt season. But I would say that we're probably closer to an alt season than we have been in a long time. You can see every time we hit this zone of dominance, it's a buy zone every single time for alts. Does it go up forever? No, no, it does not. But you can see it has in the past totally ripped before. And so we're not down. We're not just not down to those levels yet. But you can see that we're closer to the potential of alt season. That's the other thing. Everybody's guaranteeing an alt season. There's no guarantee of an alt season. You have to follow the charts. That's just plain and simple. Like, I would love to believe that there's going to be an alt season. I've been waiting for alt season for 4 years, just about, basically since the peak of the 2021 bull market. I've been waiting for this alt season, right? And everybody's been waiting, right? So anyway, but the charts are telling us we're just not ready yet. So we have to wait and wait and wait for that confirmation. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the other thing, too, that we have to have happen before we have an alt season is we need to have Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff like so fashion, right? Like so fashion. These are the times where altcoins go crazy. Now, we're not really going to have good confirmation of that until we start breaking significant levels. We haven't broken any levels of significance really. And I have here an overbalance in time and price. I've discussed that in previous videos, and we'll discuss it more on the channel. But basically what this will tell us is once Bitcoin dominance falls to this level by this time, then that would indicate that Bitcoin dominance has fallen and been pushed down farther for longer. That will give us one of the first indicators that one of the first indicators that we're looking more on track to starting a alt season. The other thing that might give us some more confirmation is if we just draw a 50% tool here from this extreme low up to the current levels, reaching these bottoms here would be, and these tops, that would be a significant level. And then at the same time, pushing this down for this period of time, that will basically be layers of indication that we're on the right track. So we just have to follow the charts. We're not there yet. We won't be there yet. This is a macro thing that takes weeks and months to play out. So day to day, you're not really going to get a lot of new information telling you that you're going to have alt season. That's just something that I wanted to mention. Now, again, everybody's the most bearish right now, and we've been going down in the alt season or altcoin dominance for almost 3 years now, since January of 2022. But again, as we can see, dominance every single time we hit this zone. This is a major, I'll call it a buy zone. It's a major support level for the dominance of the, excluding the top 10. And that's the other thing too, is most people are farther down the risk curve. I mean, the Suis and the Solanas and the XRPs, the Doges, I mean, a lot of those higher lows, higher highs continuously through the bull market. Yes, there's 70% drawdowns that don't feel good, but they have been trending up in general. They haven't given back all of their gains, whereas it seems anything outside the top 10 is pretty much given back all of their gains. Now, the reason I'm a little bit more confident that we're closer to an alt season is just based on this chart. We're a lot closer to this buy zone than we have been in a long time. We have this descending wedge playing out. This is a weekly time frame, so you can see how these things take a long time to play out, right? But this is a bullish pattern. Does it mean that it has to go up? No, it doesn't. This could fake us out to the downside and then rip in our faces, right? I mean, the markets will fool us most of the time, right? And so it will fool most people most of the time. So you have to be really careful about what most people are saying, because it's going to fool most of the people most of the time. And you just have to go back to the charts and create your own strategies based on some of the tools that are available to us. And I have a video that I will link in the description, a few tools that I think are critical and will put you ahead of most because they are so simple. Sometimes everybody tries to make things so complicated. I think making it simple is better, right? It's less things that can go wrong. And honestly, like, I don't want a lot of signal in my trading. I don't want to have a lot of signals. I want to kind of have as few, I want to have a few very strong signals. I don't want to have 1,000 signals getting me in and out of the market. It's not very efficient, right? And so that's just something to think about, I guess, right? And I haven't drawn overbalances in time and price on this chart, but maybe I can do that in future videos. But anyway, just from this rally, you can see that we'll be getting much more confident once we're able to break out of this pattern and maybe get in strong territory based off of this run right here. And then also a breach of this trend line will give us even more confirmation. Now, there's a large premium to be paid. You're not going to get the exact bottom and you're not going to sell the exact top. But this will give you a little bit more insurance that, hey, on a macro level, on a larger scale, we're more likely to succeed in this than we have in the last 3 years. Okay. Now I'm trading right now. I'm in the market because, the market basically spends 80% of its time deciding where it wants to go and then 20% of the time getting there. So there's a lot of chop, there's a lot of indecision, and you want to be in the market for that 20% of the time. So I'm not saying not to be in the market and you have to wait until we're way up here to get in the market, because by then maybe you've missed a lot of the gains. But I'm just saying that really is the insurance premium that you're paying to have more confidence that this is going to work, right? So I think that's basically the majority of what I wanted to talk about. Again, we are in strong territory as far as Bitcoin goes, consolidating in strong territory. Our next target would be this resistance level. If we break through that, bam, I have a feeling that a lot of the other charts are going to really come together in a big way. And we will start to see more confirmation as the time goes. One thing that I've mentioned in previous videos, and I won't go into it this exact video, but I've mentioned this before. If I throw a Bitcoin dominance chart on here, it doesn't really break down significantly until Ethereum breaches its previous cycle highs. It did that back here. This isn't on a logarithmic chart, but there was a peak back here. Once it broke, Bitcoin dominance fell. Again, once Ethereum breached its previous cycle high, Bitcoin dominance fell aggressively. That's just going to be something that we're going to want to keep an eye out for, right? We may not see Bitcoin dominance go down in a significant way until we breach these highs. Does not mean that alts won't go up. It just means that Bitcoin will maintain its dominance until this trigger happens, right? So that's another thing. All these things are lining up, but we're not there yet. So I guess the bearish sentiment in the market has me more bullish because typically most people get it wrong most of the time. So if everybody's calling for an alt season, which they have this entire time, the entire 3 years, every little rally that we've gotten, everybody's been calling for alt season. Have we got an alt season? No. Now nobody's calling for an alt season. And in fact, some of the influencers are capitulating themselves and getting out of everything, saying that there's not going to be an alt season this year or this cycle, right? So these are just things to keep in mind. Nobody has it all figured out. Nobody knows what's going on this side of the charts. Nobody. Anybody that tells you that they know where things are going, you must fade them immediately. Okay. I don't know where the market's going. I have to look at the charts just like anybody else and measure for myself whether is this normal? Is this normal market behavior? And typically, yes. Typically, markets behave in a similar fashion because humans behave in a similar fashion. And then those patterns end up showing up on the charts, right? Now I can go into time analysis, and if you actually measure these corrections, if you actually start measuring yourself, you will be amazed at how symmetrical they are actually in time and price. Each one of these moves to the upside, $60,000 almost on the dot. I'm not saying it's just every time everybody thinks that it's different, it's really not. It's very similar. So I would suggest to you that you get a TradingView account. It's free, and go and start measuring things for yourself. Just literally just start measuring things for yourself and understand for yourself what seems to be normal. Where do things normally turn around? And start to understand sentiment. Where does sentiment usually, right here we had the inauguration, crypto, a crypto president, and things like Fartcoin and the Trump meme coin. Like, these were, in hindsight, clear signals that we were nearing a euphoric, not peak euphoric for the whole cycle, but a euphoric phase. And from there, it didn't go anywhere. And, we corrected from there. So, and now that we're at higher prices, we have really bearish sentiment at higher prices. I kind of like to see that. And then the last thing that I'll just leave you with is, if we're zooming out, look, we're getting the NASDAQ reaching into fresh highs. NASDAQ has never been here before. This is the highest price the NASDAQ has ever been. And Bitcoin is basically a beta to the NASDAQ. And both the NASDAQ and Bitcoin track global liquidity very, very closely. So, Bitcoin will wiggle up and down more volatile than the NASDAQ, but it definitely is a good indicator of health and strength in the market. And everybody was bearish here, and we're printing higher prices, right? So I'm going to leave it at that. not necessarily any new information this week, but I want you to start thinking for yourself and going into the chart yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. I mean, because you will get wrecked every single time listening to other people, going onto YouTube, trying to figure out whether or not you want to be in the market or what market you want to be in or what token you want to buy, right? So follow, like, and subscribe for more. And we will try to together stay on the right side of these markets and fade the news and fade what everybody's telling you. Just go into the charts and start measuring and looking at these things for yourself. Find other people who have more experience in the market than you. That's what I do. I go to and see, well, what do successful people in the market do? What do they look at? What do they look at? What are their strategies? And I go and you don't have to figure all this out yourself. There are resources available to you. There are people out there, like the days of YouTube. It's amazing. There's so many people out there. You will have to weed through. You will have to weed through a lot of people to find the ones that give you the market alpha that fit your style, your risk temperament, and whether or not they have actionable data or not, or they're just trying to shill you on a token or get your attention or harvest your attention for their own gain. You have to make that decision yourself. That's the point of, that's why I wanted to start this channel. I don't want to farm your attention. I want to bring your attention to the charts so that you can make up your own damn mind. And we can do this together. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Take care, guys. Have a good weekend or have a good week, and we'll see you next time.